Really? You're with that dude? Like, why?
Our views around age gap relationships are shaped by thousands of years of evolutionary psychology and generations of social and cultural norms. Within the last 100 years, economic shifts and increased gender equalities have changed what is considered a normal age gap, and recent social justice movements have increased scrutiny over power dynamics in mixed age relationships. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I had a mild case of Bell's palsy the last 2 weeks, hence why I have not been on camera since then, but I am back. Last week I was spending a fair share of my time on Twitter, and somehow I came across this tweet. Being attracted to women your own age is normal. If you're 45, you should feel very weird about dating a 25-year-old. I started using Twitter or X lately to get my news, and somehow I get these very viral tweets when it comes to commentary on culture. Surprisingly, this short tweet seemed to cause a storm based on the responses and the conversations that day and the days after. I saw the tweet and thought, yeah, I guess, I don't know. Didn't think much of it. Didn't start thinking about nuance or possible exceptions to this. I just moved on. I just moved on. But then I saw some guy retweeting her saying, quote, as a 41-year-old, there is absolutely no scenario where I would date a woman over the age of 35, and I actively seek women from 23 to 30. In his tweet, he is clearly excluding women over 35, that is 6 years younger than himself. He's expressing a clear-cut, not preference, but boundary in people that he dates. Now, I have seen the rhetoric online enough to know that there would be some people that see me criticizing this tweet and think that I just feel insulted because he is cutting me off or whatever. But I'm actually within the age group, within the age range that he doesn't exclude, let's just say. But I am out of the competition here. I am completely out. He deleted his tweet later, though. Not sure why. He was getting absolutely blasted in the retweets. But before he deleted, I managed to read some of the replies of his tweet. Many men in the replies seem to think that, quote, older women, meaning women over 25 or 30 or 35 specifically, are trying to gatekeep the older men to themselves. And the way women supposedly do this is by claiming it is weird to date someone twice your age. But the research actually says that it is the younger generations becoming more and more judgmental of age gap relationships. Now, we all know the red pill and the manosphere. I have spoken about that space many times in my channel before. From what I have gathered is that their take is that women reach their peak at 25 and hit the wall at 30. Although some say 35, others say 25. And that men do not have a wall and that their peak is around 40. And so the conclusion some seem to reach is that a lot of early 20s women want to date or should date early 40s men. And when some younger women express clear-cut boundaries of not dating men twice their age, they also get angry comments from these men. Some men in the replies of many of these tweets seem to think that women, quote, overwhelmingly want older men. I don't know where they're getting that kind of delusion from, but this is simply not true, and statistics show it. Now, I want to tell you a little bit of where I am coming from, where my perspective is coming from. My parents have a 7-year age gap. My grandparents on my mother's side have a 15-year age gap, and my grandparents on my dad's side have an 11-year age gap. Growing up, to be honest, I thought these age gaps were absolutely insane, and I imagine now they're more of a symptom of their times. My husband is around 2.5 years older than me, which pretty much fits in with the national average. Oh yes, and I have nothing to gatekeep. I have no reason to compete with younger women for older men. I'm already out of the game, thankfully. But my husband and I do have a daughter on the way, so I definitely keep up with the topics concerning women. And I asked him, hey, What would you think if your 20-year-old daughter was being pursued by a man in his 40s? Well, his face told me everything I needed to know. Complete disapproval. I mean, it seems that dads who have daughters have generally speaking a different take on this than single men in their 40s, which shouldn't be surprising. I also didn't want to guide this video purely by the answers I saw on Twitter, since honestly it's kind of crazy out there, or I didn't want to guide it either by just my own opinion. So I decided to ask my Instagram audience for their thoughts. And overwhelmingly, the men who answered from the perspective of a father wanted their daughters to date their age range. The women who answered mostly want to date their age range, and some prefer 5 to 10 years older. On the other hand, I had some answers from men who are single and dating in their late 30s and older who answered differently. Their answers were reasonable and not as outrageous as the ones I saw on Twitter, but they have to realize that most dads might not love the age gap, and there would be a minority of relationships when it comes to age gaps. So let me read you some of the answers I got from the dads. As a father of a toddler, it makes me ache thinking about when that time comes, but she should be dating a man around the same age, with the knowledge and maturity of someone twice her age, lol. Her age range. If I had a daughter, I'd want her to date within her age range. To me, life is about being with people your age, really. Especially with a partner, I think it helps you be on more of a level playing field and understand each other. Figure it out as you go together, because that's life. I will literally send her, imagine, to Carmelite Monastery to become a nun before she dates anyone who's double her age. Now we're good with that. Even though I know I'm gonna make this video and we're gonna reach the conclusion, or not even, and some people are not even gonna watch the whole video, and they're gonna just assume the worst, the most extremist position, and they're gonna hear what they want to hear. So it's just the reality of the internet. I watched enough red pill channels and videos to know that a lot of the content creators on that space suggest that their viewers focus on themselves, and then when they're in their 40s, they can just easily get a woman in their early 20s. Also, they say not to listen to what women say they want, but watch their actions. So challenge accepted. What do most women do? First of all, anecdotally, besides my own situation, I just don't think the idea that most 20-year-old women will want to date men in their 30s or 40s, that just doesn't square up with reality. At least not with the majority of us. And most men are not Leo DiCaprio or George Clooney, which are the exceptions. Most of my classmates and friends are either married or in a relationship with a guy around their age within 5 years. And I started in high school between South America and Europe, and college in the US. So I feel like I have a large cultural frame of reference. Anyone that tells you that south of the border women are clamoring to date a guy twice their age and just want to be submissive wives is lying. That's just not true. We could go deep into that topic, but maybe another time. You can indeed find women that south of the border, especially more in the poor socioeconomic status, but you might risk someone wanting you for your money and for your passport. Someone who would not hesitate to leave you once she has what she wants. So be careful out there, my friends. Do women overwhelmingly want to date older men? Yes. Yes, they do. 2 to 3 years older, overwhelmingly. Twice their age? Absolutely not. In the US, the average age gap between couples is 2.3 years, with the guy being older. Women overwhelmingly date and marry their own age range. The next group is women dating 5 to 10 years older. And a very small minority of women are dating double their age range. The bigger the age gap, essentially the lower the percentage of people doing it. After that comes marriage, right? I mean, this is really what we are talking about here. I'm not here to discuss exceptions like DiCaprio, like I said before, or casual situations. No, I'm talking about relationships that go the distance. Ideally, when you get married, you want your relationship to last, right? that's the idea for marriage, for better or for worse. You want to find a life partner. So there are two issues with large age gaps in relationships. One is life expectancy, and the other is chances of staying together. Men have a life expectancy of 75 years, and women have a life expectancy of 80 years. Women living slightly longer than men is true across cultures. The reasons for that, quite another topic, so let's focus. Remember that I told you that my grandparents on my paternal and my maternal side had a 15 and 11 year age gap, respectively. My grandmother on my dad's side has been a widow for 25 years now. And my grandmother on my mother's side has been a widow for 15 years. I wish both of my grandfathers were alive. I feel like I did not get to know them enough. One of them left us when I was just a child, and the other one when I was a teenager. I didn't get to know them as well as I wish. They mostly did not get to see their grandchildren grow up. These are things that you might want to think about. Let's say a woman marries a man that is 20 years older than her, and he dies when she is 55. Right on the average life expectancy for men, 75. Well, he missed out on a lot of his own kids' lives, most definitely on his grandchildren's lives, and now she's in her 50s without a person to share a life with. These are things to consider with such a large and big age gap. If you're fine with it, cool. But just know these are statistical realities, and your children and grandchildren might feel differently about it. There's a couple that did something like that and understands the reality of their situation.
Watching him be a father is so beautiful.
And the shoe likes the socks. And the cat drinks the milk. Being my age, I'm not worried about being around later. I mean, obviously would like to, but Mother Nature plays a role in it, and I'm just going to take it as far as I can. After that, I guess he can push me around in my wheelchair.
I take a lot of pictures, and Lachlan's going to know that his dad loved him and would be proud of him.
Now, watching that, I have no judgment for them. I have no ill wish towards them. I do think that they're genuine, but the thing is, watching that made me really sad. They understand that the father might not be around for a lot of the kids' life. She said that she takes photos of them together so that he knows, that the child knows that his father loved him. And that to me was kind of heartbreaking. So that's something to really think about when it comes to these age gap relationships. I, for one, I still have both my parents around. I have both of my grandmothers around. I don't have both my grandfathers around. But I wish the people in my life stay in my life as long as possible. The other issue is marriage survival rate. Marriages which have couples closer in age have a higher chance of lasting than couples with a big age gap. Again, I know there are exceptions to this. Both my grandmothers stayed married, but then they're now widows. So I know there are exceptions, but studies and statistics have shown that large age gaps in marriages can be a source of conflict and marital dissatisfaction. Someone who answered my Instagram story about this question, who seemed, he seemed to be a dad, said that couples in a similar age range find more things to relate about, go through similar life experiences, and there's not that much of a gap when it comes to understanding each other. It makes sense. When I hang out with my husband's friends, they're all around my same age. We're all within the same age group. We can go out, have dinner, play charades, and we have similar interests. We have similar vibes among us, let's say. This is something you will not get with a large age gap. Now, we have discussed longevity in marriage, in life, but how about biological reasons why similar age groups also fare better when having kids? When I was reading the replies on Twitter, one thing that got mentioned over and over again was fertility of a young 20-year-old versus a woman who is 35 plus. And so the older men saying that their choice was in big part because of having kids. Understandable, right? But then they were kind of not understanding why the women in the answers said that they also prefer a man closer to their own age. If there is a case of infertility, chances that the man is 50% responsible. It is an old myth that fertility is on the woman. That is just not reality. And beyond infertility, the health of the baby is very dependent on the health of both parents. The health of the placenta is very dependent on the father's health, and sperm quality starts declining at 35. Even if the father is healthy, your best swimmers as men were probably before the age of 35. You can probably extend that with optimal health, but so can women. Yes, you can still have children, but older sperm contributes significantly to the inability to get pregnant, to stillbirth, to miscarriages, to fetal death. Children of older fathers have an increased risk of autism, schizophrenia, and other health disorders. And even if you have perfectly healthy children, remember what I said before, you will be significantly older and with less energy when you have them. I'm not saying this to shame anyone, so please don't get in all your fifis about it. If you feel like you're getting emotional, watch my video on emotion versus logic in men and women. What I'm saying here are just facts of life. Being unable to get pregnant or problems within pregnancy is not just about the mother, and it is about time we move away from that idea. Now, my own personal opinion, I think it is weird if a man excludes women his own age or close to his age when dating. It could be creepy, or I could say I just have questions. One of the men who answered my prompt on Instagram said that he thinks men looking for women half their age is predatory. But again, he was speaking as a dad, and the dads and single men in their 40s had completely different perspectives. If for some reason you meet someone, you don't know their age, and you become attached, and turns out there is a big age gap, this is a big difference to actively seeking someone half your age, especially if the reason is because you want someone to be more coachable. Most women prefer men within 5 years of them, yet there are some who actively seek older men. Are those two groups meant for each other? The men seeking women half their age and the women seeking men double their age? It seems that way, although I have a question if the women have father issues or abandonment issues, seriously, because most fathers do not like this age gap for their daughters. Regardless, these are things to think about, okay? Not everything in life is black and white. Sometimes a couple with a big age gap works and they're great, but this is simply not the norm. What do you think? I'll see you next time. Cheers.